Breaking tonight, a major interstate on the verge of being shut down. Plus, an entire neighborhood has its power cut off as police urge people to evacuate immediately. And a community in shock after their town turns into a lake. We have team coverage of the ongoing flood alert, what we've learned about 3 more storm-related deaths, the race to keep a river in St. Louis from covering a busy street, and 5 on Your Side gets answers for homeowners whose basements are flooded. We start with breaking news. The Missouri National Guard is officially on duty to help flood victims. 30 guardsmen from Jefferson Barracks launched a sandbag operation tonight at the water treatment facility in High Ridge. The plant is currently in danger of flooding, and if that happens, the plant would be closed for cleanup. There's only a couple days worth of water reserves and storage, so residents are being urged to conserve water as much as possible until this issue is resolved. Meanwhile, there's new information from the Army Corps of Engineers. The Mississippi River and its tributaries are threatening to overtop 19 federal levees. The threatened areas include Perry and St. Genevieve counties in Missouri and Randolph County in Illinois. However, the levee protecting the city of St. Genevieve is not believed to be in danger. Also breaking tonight, we are just hours away from the likely closure of a major interstate. Floodwaters are threatening to overtake I-44 near Valley Park. We have team coverage of the latest developments and a new forecast of just how high the river levels are expected to get. Let's kick things off with Jacob Long, who is live along I-44 in St. Louis County.
Well, Ann, you see all of this floodwater here behind me. The entire time we have been out here tonight, we have been watching it grow higher and higher by the second. At this hour, it is threatening multiple fast food restaurants right off Highway 141. But the biggest concern among people here happens in just a few hours when this water is expected to overtake a road thousands of people use every single day. Thousands of gallons of overflowing floodwater might make the perfect backdrop for a photo op for some people.
I'm just coming out to see how bad this flood is tonight. I've heard about it during work.
But in just a few hours, it might just wash out any hope of making it to work on time for thousands of South County drivers.
I would be sad if I have to miss work. I don't want to get fired.
MoDOT expects another 8 feet of water to spill into the area of Interstate 44 and Route 141 overnight Tuesday, meaning by Wednesday morning, 44 is expected to be closed in both directions.
With that amount of water coming on, rising and coming on I-44, we can't fight it. We can't keep it off I-44.
It's a similar situation to what the Valley Park area experienced in 2008. And despite storm drain improvements, MoDOT says this time flood levels will still end up 4 feet higher.
But when it gets to a certain point, we can't hold that back, that whole entire Merrimack River.
So as the last customers leave nearby businesses to get out of harm's way, people are reflecting on how they'll manage without I-44 for the next few days.
I understand there's other ways around not using the interstate, but a lot of those routes are blocked right now as well.
And so what is MoDOT going to do? Well, they say they are going to have posted detours for all of those drivers, how to get around that closed interstate. It's not believed that I-44 will reopen until at least Friday at the earliest. And even then, they say that the interstate will have to undergo inspection so to make sure there's no structural damage. We're live in Valley Park tonight. Jacob Long, News Channel 5.
Developing news in Arnold. Just minutes ago, officials turned off the power in a neighborhood that's in danger of flooding. They're asking people to evacuate now as the water continues to rise. People in Arnold have been sandbagging all day as water started to cover yards and creep towards homes. News Channel 5's Jennifer Meckles is in Arnold to continue our team coverage.
The work is hard and no volunteer too young. It's all hands on deck along Convair Drive in Arnold, where the water is moving faster than they'd planned for.
Just look, people are driving in the water.
Just 24 hours ago, Stacy Robinson was trying to save a neighbor's house from floodwaters. Now,
everything in garbage bags.
It's her own home at risk.
We still need help. I mean, we really need help. We're saving my house right now.
Arnold officials opened an emergency operations center and 2 command centers Tuesday. Like many cities, people in Arnold are comparing this flood to the big one in 1993.
Right now, they're estimating this to crest at 46.1. which is going to be a significant event that we haven't seen since 1993.
15 minutes south, Kimmswick is also bagging sand and building a bigger levee. Time, or lack of it, is the biggest challenge.
Winter flood like this is very out of the ordinary. And this one came up very quickly, and the order of magnitude is very high.
So on they work long after sunset, because whether it's the Mississippi in Kimmswick or the Merrimack in Arnold, floodwaters wait for nobody.
Jennifer Meckles reporting. Arnold plans to hold an emergency council meeting tomorrow night to discuss response efforts. Now to a developing story at the Fenton Wastewater Treatment Plant. We've learned the building will be fully submerged by Thursday, and there's no timetable for when it will be back up and running. A flooding-related malfunction is blamed for sending untreated sewage into the Merrimack. Health officials want to stress there is no danger to the drinking water in Fenton, but people who come in contact with tainted floodwaters should thoroughly wash with soap and water. New tonight, the Burbus River has finally crested in Union, but not before leaving behind this jaw-dropping scene in the heart of town. An historic flood that left several businesses with water up to their rooftops. It has been a difficult day, not only for those business owners, but also for residents of the Franklin County community. News Channel 5's Marianne Martinez has been in Union all day. She is live there tonight to continue our flood team coverage. And I know things are receding, Cindy said.
Yes, and thankfully the floodwaters are starting to recede. Around 2 o'clock, the water was here where this white line is. It's come down now several feet down here, but so many businesses in Union, including this QT, are still underwater.
Praying it don't go no higher. I don't know if I could take that.
Dolores Hill fled her home in the middle of the night, and she spent all day watching the water creep slowly toward her front door.
You think about the people that have gone through it, and then you think, was I that uncaring that I didn't know that people had to go through this? But it's devastating.
Well, it looks like it is coming from a vent now.
Union firefighters launched their boat concerned a trailer in this mobile home park was on fire. They also checked to see if there were people inside, but everybody had fled. The Burbus River crested, threatening the closure of Interstate 44 at one point. Across town, several highways were closed, prompting the Franklin County Sheriff to issue a warning that is worth repeating.
A lot of times when water goes over a road, it has a tendency to erode it. So it's really important that people don't try to cross water that's over the road.
Businesses also flooded, with the water reaching near the rooftops. Workers wondered if and when they would have jobs.
We could just see everything rising. Every time we went back, it was higher and higher.
By the evening, water started to recede, giving residents hope that the worst was over.
God is wonderful. Maybe he'll pull the plug and it'll all go down.
Governor Nixon is scheduled to come to Franklin County tomorrow at 1:30 to tour the damage and meet with officials. We are live in Union. Marianne Martinez, News Channel 5.
New tonight, 3 more people have been confirmed dead in Missouri and Illinois. The bodies of a man and woman were found today near Taylorville in Christian County. Authorities say they were trying to cross a flooded area and drowned. Meanwhile, police in Pulaski County found the body of a missing international soldier. He was one of 5 who died when a car was swept off the road near Crocker this weekend. There have been nearly 20 flood-related deaths in Missouri and Illinois. More than 500 volunteers have completed a sandbagging operation along the River des Peres in St. Louis. Volunteers and city staff shoveled 630 tons of sand into 36,000 sandbags today. They got there at 7 a.m. They built a wall between Morgan Ford and Alabama, just trying to hold back those rising floodwaters. We caught up with 2 of these volunteers, a father and son who belong to a local Boy Scout troop.
I think it's important to see that, there's a bigger cause, more to life than, what we do every day. And, here's where it comes down to, what's really important in life, and that's, helping the people around you.
There were enough sandbags left over to help people in Jefferson County. Crews then trucked 1,500 sandbags to the water treatment plant in High Ridge we were telling you about. New tonight, the Red Cross has opened a shelter for flood victims in St. Charles County. Anyone who needs a place to get food or sleep can go to Francis Howell North High School. That is in the 2500 block of Hackman Road. The Red Cross has also opened shelters in Arnold, Pacific, Bethalto, and Granite City. One of the hardest hit areas in St. Charles County is the community of West Alton. More than 500 people there were told to evacuate because water overtopped a levee. Highways 67 and 94 are already flooded in some areas. Gas stations along 67 have even taken out the gas pumps because of the threat of flooding. So far, no homes in this area are flooded, but residents expect that will change. Across the river in Alton, the city is banking on new barriers to hold back the rising river. City officials had a new flood wall built from sand and concrete. The mayor says the river will continue to be at dangerous levels through Thursday, but he is hopeful the wall will hold. The scenes from the sky, they have just been remarkable, probably reminding many of you at home of the flood of '93. Our chopper has been documenting the damage all day long. Here's a look at some of the most powerful images from the air. We showed some of this to you earlier, but it's worth a closer look. This video made international headlines. Businesses in Union, Missouri underwater. A gas station, fast food restaurants, even a hardware store all look like they were built in the middle of a lake. Check out what the flooding in West Alton looks like from the air. The river is expected to crest here Thursday, more than 17 feet above flood stage. That would be the second highest ever, only behind the Great Flood of 1993. And here's what Route 141 looked like near Interstate 44 in Fenton. It's expected to be closed for a couple more days. And as Jacob Long told you earlier, I-44 is also on the verge of being shut down. And new tonight, evacuations in Eureka, where 6 families are trying to escape floodwaters. They live on a street near Highway 109 that's appropriately named River Ends Drive. The families tell us it's flooded before, and they've been preparing for a couple of days.
Our church is probably, I'm going to guess, maybe 100 people. That's a pretty round guess. I don't really know. But I'll bet 30-something of them have showed up this weekend to help, or this last 2 days to help us. It's amazing.
Most of the houses are actually set up so they can be hosed down after flooding. After the flood of 2008, the families were able to move back in the next day. 5 on Your Side is getting answers for homeowners with flooded basements. Historic rainfall is finding its way into a lot of homes and businesses. Sometimes prevention can make a difference. Other times there's just too much rain and homeowners are forced to deal with it. Here's 5 on Your Side's Art Holiday.
We've never really had any issues. We've never had water in the basement.
Instead of hoverboarding with his son, John Schrader's Christmas vacation was interrupted Monday by water in the basement, and his wet, dry vacuum wasn't enough to solve the problem.
12-gallon capacity and emptied it probably 12 to 13 times.
He actually removed about 200 gallons of water before we got here.
Justin Woodard of Woodard Cleaning and Restoration says these cracks in the Schrader basement couldn't withstand days of heavy rainfall.
The vast majority of what we're seeing in homes is the groundwater not having anywhere else to go.
Soaked carpet padding has to go. The basement has to be dried out, a common problem in the St. Louis region following days of historic rainfall.
We had over 300 phone calls about water damage from homes and businesses. There's actually a lot of things you can do to prevent the water from coming into your home. Make sure your landscaping, is going away from your home. So especially if you've got window wells, make sure that your gutters are clear of debris, leaves. If you do have a sump pump in your basement, make sure that you test it.
For the Schraders, multiple foundation cracks will have to be repaired and a sump pump installed. Insurance may not pay for damage or repairs.
They informed us that it's likely not covered because this would be considered a flood, even though there's no flood around us and we're at the top of a hill.
It is always a good idea to check your home insurance policy so you know what's covered when it comes to flooded basements. If you're dealing with flooding issues at your home, we want to hear about it. Send an email to 5onyourside@ksdk.com, or you can call us at 314-444-5231. The pictures we've gotten all day from viewers from our helicopter, Cindy, are just incredible. You have one for us now.
I do, and this one comes from downtown Alton. We're seeing some flooding now in the streets in the downtown area. The National Weather Service has just extended that flash flood warning for northeastern St. Charles County now until 7 o'clock in the morning, and that's because we're still getting some overtopping of these levees. It happened this afternoon, still going on, evacuations in the West Alton area. So this is now a flash flood warning that is going to continue now all night into tomorrow morning until 7 a.m. We'll see what it looks like by that time.
A 5 on your side flood alert as the mighty Merrimack is cresting, testing records, and flooding out of its banks, even tearing homes from foundations.
Swallowing roads, bridges, as people fight to keep the floodwaters at bay.
Others are surrounded by floodwaters with no way out.
And people still taking dangerous chances in a flood that's now claimed 14 lives in Missouri. Good evening. Towns all along the Merrimack River are either underwater or on high alert tonight.
The river is expected to hit historic highs. Thousands affected in towns like Fenton, Eureka, Arnold, and Valley Park. We have a team of reporters covering the flooding. We begin our coverage in Eureka. This is a bird's eye view of South Central Avenue. You can see homes, businesses underwater, about halfway up to that first story. News Channel 5's Art Holiday toured the town by boat, and he joins us live.
Well, for much of the day, water has continued rising here in Eureka. A local attorney, John Butler, who owns a couple of buildings here on North Central Avenue behind me, took us on a float trip where business owners are waiting to assess the flood damage.
I'm in the middle of the street, so it's 4 feet high here because I'm 6 feet tall, you know, but I'm at the high point. Like I said, it gets deeper this way and that way.
This is North Central Avenue in Old Town Eureka. Many of the businesses on both sides of the street are underwater and suffering a lot of flood damage. So your feelings right now are what?
Amazement, disbelief that it got this bad this quick. The red building down there in the corner, my dad started in the 1950s and my brother took over. So we've had property in Eureka since the 1950s.
And is this the worst you've ever seen?
Worst anyone's has ever seen. But luckily, like, no homes, no one's hurt. We can be, all these businesses we can rebuild.
It sounds like you're trying to find a silver lining here, and that's got to be a challenge.
It is. We're trying to look on the positive. No one was hurt. These are not homes. Be grateful. We got a place to go home to tonight.
Now, this flood is a big deal for the Butler family. John Butler, his brother, and his sister all own businesses here on North Central Avenue, and they all have water damage at the moment. Live in Eureka, Art Holiday, News Channel 5.
A 24-mile stretch of I-44 from 270 to Highway 100 in Gray Summit is closed. This is why. Let's take a look at 44 and 141 in Valley Park. Look at that, the entire intersection underwater. Jacob Long is live in Valley Park.
Well, Ann, it is important to understand that the story on this side of the Merrimack River is a lot different from the other side, but no less devastating. Someone from MoDOT actually just told me that they think that this has gone up another 2 to 3 feet since overnight this morning, making this about 15 feet deep. And so that is why you can expect 44 and 141 to be closed for the next several days. Now I want to talk about what is going on the other side of the Merrimack. That is where you'll find a lot of homes and a lot of longtime businesses right up against that rising water. The Merrimack is moving very closely, like we saw today, has already reached a record level of 43 feet. It's expected to rise even more, up to 40 feet, 44 feet rather, before cresting as early as tonight. And so that is why people in Valley Park spent all day today reinforcing their flood wall with sandbags in a desperate attempt to save everything that they hold dear. And those people who are on the receiving end of all of that generosity say that they are just forever grateful.
Everybody's come down and helped down here. Thanks for the city guys working. Them guys are putting a lot of time in and sacrificing their time and not getting their own stuff out, because a lot of them guys live down here too.
Now tonight, a mandatory evacuation order remains in effect in Valley Park for the homes and businesses closest to that flood wall. The mayor telling us that it's going to have to remain in effect until that water comes down to a safe level and people can return back to their homes. Live in Valley Park, Jacob Long, News Channel 5.
We have a complete list of every road closure in Missouri and Illinois on our website, and the best way to get around them, just head to KSTK.com. Arnold's mayor calls the flooding one of the largest natural disasters in his city's history. Tonight, residents are racing to shore up against the swelling Merrimack River. Mike Rush joins us live from North Arnold with the latest. Mike.
Casey, this is the danger zone here in North Arnold, closest to the Merrimack River. Look back here behind me, it's showing its presence. This is a cul-de-sac that is completely engulfed in water right now. The community is sandbagging, but for Clint Maxey, it's already a little too late. He has a few inches of sewage water standing in his basement. He's hoping to stay on top of it with pumps. Arnold's police chief estimates 50 to 60 homes are already taking in water. When the Merrimack crests by tomorrow, he expects that number to triple. So Maxey knows the worst is yet to come.
It's not even here yet. It's not even started. I mean, this is groundwater right here, and it's still got to come up another 2 feet of water out there.
No deaths or injuries reported in Arnold, but we did witness emergency crews helping a man who was trapped inside his home. We'll speak with him coming up at 6 o'clock. Reporting live from Arnold, Mike Rush, News Channel 5.
Jefferson County floodwater spilled into the District 2 water treatment plant in High Ridge. This is affecting 6,500 customers in High Ridge and Murphy. Right now, there is enough backup water to last a couple of days. Officials are working on a backup to the backup. Meantime, they are calling for the affected customers to conserve water. The waste treatment plant in Fenton is now completely underwater. A flooding-related malfunction is blamed for sending untreated sewage into the Merrimack River yesterday. Health officials want to stress there is no danger to the drinking water in Fenton. No word on when the plant will be operational again. And we have some more video to show you from Fenton. This one gives you a pretty good idea of just how dangerous this river is right now. Chris Allen shot this video of a house being swept down the Merrimack. It then crashes into the Gravois Bridge.
The number of deaths from the flooding continues to rise. A death in Crawford County brings that number of victims in Missouri to 14. The Merrimack crested in Pacific today. That's in Franklin County, where Governor Jay Nixon visited with local officials and he toured the damage. News Channel 5's Jennifer Meckles is live with those details. And Jennifer, the governor was in Pacific right at the time it crested.
He sure was, Ann. He was here to talk to local officials, to give them an update on what they're doing at the state level and to ask them questions about what they need. So we are in Pacific, where the Merrimack did crest today. Officials tell us the water's already receding, but if what you see behind me is any indication, they got a long way to go, a very long way to go. Let me show you some pictures from the air. You can see how much flooding they're experiencing here in Pacific. When the Merrimack crested, it crested at 33.4 feet. And again, that happened around noon today. Many homes and businesses are still flooded out. Roads are underwater. Here's Franklin County Sheriff Gary Tolke.
A lot of cleanup. There's still some stores that are under. We're concerned about looters, obviously. So, we got a little ways to go yet.
We are here before the water rises. We're here after it falls. We're here until this place is back to where it was before.
And that's Governor Jay Nixon you heard there speaking to those officials in Pacific, asking what they needed, telling him what the state was trying to do to help. He also talked about the role of the guardsmen here in the state of Missouri, and one of their missions is security. Now, they're helping with patrols, yes, they're helping with sandbaggings, yes, but a big role they will play is making sure that all these empty, flooded out homes are not looted by people looking for an opportunity. In fact, the governor called it sticky fingers as an opportunity, and he said that will not happen here in Missouri. Reporting live in Pacific, Jennifer Meckles, News Channel 5.
And more good news in Franklin County. Not only there, but the water's also starting to go down in Union. This was the scene yesterday. Total mess. Several roads are now clear, though. Deputies are checking for damage. They say they found some on a few county roads. Cindy is watching the river levels. Eureka, Valley Park really got it bad today, and the Merrimack has not crested yet, right?
No, it has not. We still have some time to go tonight and tomorrow. This is the latest crest now. We're going to get new numbers later on this evening, but right now Pacific is now falling. It has crested. Certainly good news there. Eureka, 46.1 expected to crest tonight. Valley Park tonight, this is a very high level, 44.1 feet. These are all historic crests, by the way. Arnold tomorrow at 47 feet. all in major flooding stage here on the Mississippi. Grafton, Alton, St. Louis cresting on Friday morning. Chester now not quite historic, but very close, 48.5 feet. And the Missouri River, we've got very high water here at Gasconade at Herman. Herman is falling now. Washington, St. Charles, not quite as bad, but you got to be prepared because this is going to be an ongoing thing along the major rivers. We'll have road closures, detours, damage from flood water, erosion. You don't know what's going on under those roads, structural damage. You got to stay informed.
Well, 5 on Your Side is teaming up with the American Red Cross to help flood victims. Volunteers are here right now to answer all of your questions. You can call 314-969-8655. They will be here until 10:30 tonight. And the Red Cross has opened a shelter for flood victims at Francis Howell North High School in St. Charles County. The agency has also opened shelters in Granite City, Bethalto, Arnold, St. Robert, and Pacific. You can find all this information on KSDK.com. Much more on Red Cross relief efforts coming up at 5:15. Our coverage of the flooding continues after the break, including an aerial tour of the devastation, a closer look at what towns along the Merrimack are dealing with.
And this can be a very stressful time for your pets. What's being done to comfort animals caught in the floodwaters? We were telling you early, parts of I-44 are closed. So guess what? Right here, everybody's hopping onto I-55. This is I-55 between Arnold and Fenton. Now we're in the afternoon rush hour traffic. This is right near Merrimack Bottom Road, and you can see things are really slowed down, really heavy traffic. Be prepared in case they decide later to maybe close the highway overnight or into Thursday. MoDOT says crews are working hard to save I-55 at Merrimack from water, but the river is rising. It is open right now, but you can see right there on the left-hand side of your screen that water pooling, puddling, moving over into those lanes. MoDOT's working on it. You can see emergency crews on the scene. We'll keep up these aerial pics and check back and let you know if there's any updates throughout the show.
And Ann, as you just said, over the last 24 hours, flooding has hit the I-44 corridor particularly hard. Video shot from the helicopter shows how extensive the damage is as floodwater from the Merrimack River overtakes homes and businesses. Most streets and buildings south of the railroad tracks in Pacific, Missouri have been covered by floodwaters. The landmark Opera House building is completely surrounded by water, as is the city's American Legion post. Up I-44 in Eureka, parts of South Central Avenue are underwater, including Odell's Pub and a number of homes and businesses. Earlier today, rescue boats could be seen around the Merrimack River checking houses for people that may be stranded while the water reached the bottom of power lines hanging across the Merrimack River. In Valley Park, the intersection of I-44 and 141 is nearly unrecognizable, with only the interstate signs indicating where the roads are located under the water. Levees and floodgates have been reinforced with sandbags, protecting Valley Park from the rising water. More coverage of the flooding after the break, including what's being done to help those hurting the most, and lots of anxious people in Alton, the strangers stepping in to help calm fears.
And a dog named Lucky lives up to its name. The precious pet saved from floodwaters without a second to spare. We are getting all kinds of video of the flooding sent to our newsroom. Don Lippy took this video this morning of a house floating down the Merrimack River in Eureka. One of many knocked off their foundations by floodwater. The video was taken right under the Highway W bridge. If you have video or pictures you want to share, post them on our Facebook page or you can email us. Look at that. The satellite dish is still on there and everything. That's everything they own inside that house. The email address to send videos, to send photos, it is photos@KSDK.com. But first and foremost, stay safe in this weather. The people responsible for saving a dog trapped in floodwaters are now telling us more about that rescue. Now, we first told you about this story during Today in St. Louis this morning. The Open Door Animal Sanctuary in House Springs heard this dog, named Lucky, had been trapped inside of a home by the overflowing Merrimack. They say it happened while his owners were on vacation. There was a pet sitter, but she couldn't reach Lucky's flooded out house. The animal sanctuary eventually got to Lucky by boat, and they did it all before he ran literally out of room to breathe. There was that much water.
Very happy. It was an amazing situation because right when we pulled up, the water was at the second story window and he was floating right towards us on a floating door. We've been in contact with the owners. They're very grateful. They're coming back to get him from Florida, so they were just happy that somebody was here in time to come get him.
The animal sanctuary has saved other pets too, including this cat. It was abandoned by its owners in Arnold. If you find an animal that has been displaced in the Fenton area, the sanctuary says you can contact them. The Humane Society of Missouri is offering free boarding to pets forced from their homes by flooding. Animals can be dropped off at 2 mobile rescue trailers. One is at the First Baptist Church in Arnold, the other at the Manchester United Methodist Church that's in Baldwin. The animals will then be taken to the Mackland Avenue headquarters in St. Louis for emergency boarding.
Well, as we mentioned at the top of the newscast, the American Red Cross is helping flood victims, and they need your help. Volunteers are here to take donations tonight until 10:30. The number you can call is 314-969-8655. Joining me now is Cindy Erickson, the CEO of the Red Cross. When people call, because we know they will, we know how St. Louis responds in situations like this.
Absolutely.
How will their money that goes to you help the people we are seeing suffering on television?
Yeah, that donation that's coming in right now is definitely going to support everything that goes into the shelter. So the cots, the blankets, the meals that we provide, the games and the activities for the children. We'll also be moving shortly to recovery, and so the cleanup kits that we'll be providing, tarps and shovels, and all of that. We'll be doing mass feeding also in neighborhoods when they start to clean up. So really, the Red Cross, we're there for that emergency assistance of food, shelter, and clothing.
And we hear the phones ringing right now. That is good sound to hear. These volunteers will be here until 10:30 tonight. Cindy Erickson, thank you so much. Let's go to Cindy Presler in the First Alert Weather Center. Cindy.
You're watching News Channel 5, where the news comes first.
We begin with 5 on Your Side team coverage of the ongoing flood alert that has many areas of the metro underwater. With 2 major highways in our area shut down, frustrated drivers are getting more desperate. At Telegraph Road over the Merrimack River today, people took their chances with only 1 open lane.
Meantime, entire communities are still swamped as flood victims wait for the water to drop. This is video of homes, trucks, and other properties stuck in several feet of water in the West Alton, Missouri area. From the latest on road closures to the latest efforts to save property, we are following several new developments in the flood alert.
The record flooding has forced an oil pipeline to shut down between the Wood River Refinery in Roxana, Illinois, and Oklahoma. The flooded Merrimack River is setting records. The National Weather Service says the river crested in Valley Park early this morning above 44 feet, nearly 4.5 feet higher than the record set in 1982. Forecasts call for water levels to recede gradually over the next several days.
And that brings us to breaking news in South St. Louis County, where the northbound lanes of I-55 just reopened. Casey Nolan is live with the latest.
Yeah, Art and Ann, it's good news for interstate traffic trying to go north, trying to go from Jefferson County into St. Louis County, into St. Louis. Traffic is flowing again. As you can see, for the first time in almost a day, we're seeing headlights on northbound 55, but you can also see work continues on the southbound side. MoDOT tells us it will be into tonight, likely after midnight, maybe through the entire night, before they are able to open the other direction, the southbound direction of Interstate 55. And when you wade into the neighborhoods here in southern St. Louis County, northern Jefferson County, you quickly see this is more than just a traffic problem here, especially in one Arnold neighborhood we saw.
We have very little clothes or anything because it hit so fast. We were told to stop sandbagging and get out, and we did.
Do you even have a winter coat?
No, I'm gonna go buy one.
That gentleman there, he and his family were like a lot of families in that area of North Arnold, going back to see what they could salvage, if they could even get to their homes. A lot of people couldn't get to their homes there off of Jeffco Boulevard. Dozens of homes in just that one neighborhood have water inside them. A lot of them have water in the basement. Several of them have much more water than that. The police chief tells us it could be over 100 homes in Arnold with water inside.
I'm devastated. Our house is gone.
Just don't understand it all. I don't understand it all. Who would have thought? He's been here for 40 years, and it's never come up past that point. So we prepared the best we could.
And when they say they don't understand, they're talking about their reference point, and their reference point is 1993. And the homes that flooded them, most of them were bought out and are gone. That house there, we were talking to that lady, it was another 20 or 30 yards away where the most they'd ever seen flood water. They'd lived there for 40 years. They've never had water in their house at all. Now they have several inches in their basement. So this has gone well beyond what they thought the worst was in their lifetime. Again, southbound 55 still closed. Northbound has just opened. Important to remember, MoDOT says, because of all the water that's been on this road and the temperatures dropping, they're now having to salt the interstate. So they're asking drivers when they do reopen to please be careful. Live in South St. Louis County, Casey Nolan, News Channel 5.
Nearly 24 state roads are still closed in St. Louis County, and the damage is in the millions.
That's the word from St. Louis County emergency responders, who just gave an update on the flooding situation. News Channel 5's Christina Coleman is live at the Emergency Operations Center. Christina?
Well, that's right. They just had a big press conference that just wrapped up with a lot of officials here, including the St. Louis County Executive Steve Stenger. From what they tell me, 141 will be closed for days. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of this video that we've been shooting over these past few days. Officials say 141 and 44 is under about 18 to 20 feet of water right now, and that currently there are 24 state roads closed in the St. Louis region. Initially, 240 roads were closed due to the flooding. They say 350 people have been displaced in Valley Park, mostly due to mandatory evacuations, and that there have been about 75 other people displaced in other parts of the area, including Eureka and Fenton. They say it's been a huge mess, but fortunately, I-55 northbound lanes, as Casey has just mentioned, is opening or has opened between 141 and the Merrimack Bottom Road.
Yesterday, I was up in the St. Louis County police helicopter, and the sheer magnitude of what we're facing is it's unbelievable. For mile after mile covered with flood water in areas that were previously dry and that should be dry.
MSD was also at this press conference here tonight, and they tell me they have received about 2,700 calls since the flooding started, most of them from storm drain backups. But the message here that almost all of these representatives reiterated was for people to be careful, to not drive through these flooded waters, and if they can, to stay off the roads if it looks like it could be dangerous. Reporting live tonight, Christina Coleman, News Channel 5.
Advice, Christina. Almost all the deaths we've seen in the state of Missouri has been because people drove into flooded roadways thinking they could pass. We also have an update about the historic flooding that's affected the Valley Park area. You'll especially want to listen up if you're one of the thousands who depend on I-44. News Channel 5's Jacob Long continues our team coverage from Valley Park.
Well, Ann, we are here at that intersection of 44 and 141. It might just be the most photographed location in all of St. Louis County this week because of the tremendous amount of water that remains right here behind me. You just heard Christina talk about how there's upwards of 20 feet of water, and a little bit more insight into why it's going to take some time for this to reopen. It's that after all of this recedes, MoDOT is going to go over it with a fine-tooth comb just to make sure that there's no structural damage to any of the roadway, any of the overpasses, or any of the bridges. And when you look at this location from up above, you can understand why this is such a historic event. We heard today that in the Valley Park area, they have not seen these flood levels since 1982. And we also want to show you some video of what it looks like really up close and personal. Our morning show crew got a really good look at what the Merrimack is doing right now. So city leaders said that it is down a foot closer to the city, which is encouraging to them. But remember, we told you earlier in the week how the city workers were out there working very hard to reinforce that flood wall there with sandbags and all sorts of plywood. Well, a city leader told me earlier tonight that those efforts have paid off tremendously, saving thousands of homes and businesses. The crest was literally within inches of that wall, and even though it is starting to go down, still some people are not able to get back into their homes yet.
I'm hoping by later today, maybe. I'm doubtful, but it'd be great if I get in there later today. But by the flood tables and what I've seen on the hydraulic tables online, looks like tomorrow morning I'll be able to hopefully at least get down there.
And city leaders here still not ready to firm up an exact time of when those mandatory evacuation orders are going to be lifted. Remember, they got out about 900 families or so, and they say they want that river level closer to the city to be around 40 feet, and it's just not there yet. We're live in Valley Park tonight. Jacob Long, News Channel 5.
People who live in High Ridge and Murphy are being told to boil their water before using it for cooking, drinking, or brushing their teeth. The water treatment plant in High Ridge shut down yesterday after floodwater flowed through the facility. Health officials in Jefferson County say the boil order is in effect until further notice.
Missouri American Water says at this point there is no need for St. Louis County customers to boil their water. The utility says the quality of its drinking water is still high despite the flooded Merrimack. However, people in South St. Louis County, you are being encouraged to just conserve water over the next couple of days until the river levels fall.
Anheuser-Busch is stepping up to help flood victims in our area. The company is sending more than 32,000 cans of emergency drinking water to people affected by the flooding in the St. Louis area. It's working with the American Red Cross to distribute the water.
The closure of I-55 and I-44, they have led to major headaches for drivers the last couple of days. Everyone's being forced to use the same detours, and many of those detours, they just aren't equipped to handle the volume. News Channel 5's Stephanie Diffin is live with more.
We are along the I-44 detour, and those who live near here in Manchester or along Manchester here can probably tell that traffic is a lot higher than normal. And if I go this way, you can see that it's actually there's a lot of traffic going in both directions here. Now, we started at the detour at I-44 and 100, and it really was stop and go for a while coming back towards St. Louis. And the problems are also continuing in South St. Louis County. Here's an aerial look from earlier today over Telegraph Road. This is when the road was shut down to just one lane, and drivers were really struggling to get between Jefferson and St. Louis counties. Now, again, we learned firsthand what those backups were like, but I also spoke with drivers about navigating this traffic headache.
Well, I mean, with 44 being closed, 100 right here is impossible to get onto, and once you're on there, you're pretty much stuck on it. We've had to take a bunch of back roads and kind of skirt our way around town just to get to where we need to go.
What has the traffic been like?
It's been backed up on 100. It was a lot slower. So normally there's nobody on there, but now there's a lot. There was actually quite a few semis on 100, and I usually would never see any.
Usually during the mornings it's kind of busy, but it's kept that flow throughout the day so far.
There is still water covering the road here on 109 at Old State Road. This is one of the reasons that so many drivers are having to take detours across the area. We took the detour from I-44 and 270 that took us up 270 and west on Manchester. We drove a little over 20 miles and it took us a little over 50 minutes.
You kind of have to plan for it. It's normally a half hour to 45 minutes out of your way to get to wherever you're going.
Now, MoDOT tells me that I-44 is shut down in both directions to continuous traffic, but there are some exits that are accessible for people that are not going straight through that stretch of interstate. At this point, there's no word on when the closure will reopen. Reporting live, I'm Stephanie Diffin. Back to you.
For an up-to-the-minute list of road closures and traffic updates, download the KSDK app for iPhone and Android. You can also check our website, ksdk.com.
Homes are turning into islands along the Mississippi when all this water is expected to return to its banks.
And with the floodwater comes the crooks. 5 on Your Side is here to help you avoid the scams.
Stay with us for any new developments as our coverage of this 5 on Your Side flood alert continues. During this flood alert, some people's property is just inches away from disaster. In this video shot over West Alton today, you can see homes just sitting above the floodwaters. It's like they're on a string of almost small islands, and they're just surrounded by that Mississippi within 10, 15, 20 feet of going underwater. The floods have caused problems for water systems, and now they're starting to hit phone service. AT&T says flooding in one of its Fenton buildings is causing issues with some wireless and landline services in the Fenton area.
Wireless customers aren't the only ones taking a hit this week. The high water in Jefferson County has cut some landline service as well. The Jefferson County Emergency Manager tells News Channel 5 that the areas of Antonio, Cedar Hill, High Ridge, and Fenton are without landline service. That means residents in those towns will not be able to call 911 on a landline. They can either use a cell phone or call 636-797-9999.
We have a 5 on your side consumer alert for flood victims. Missouri's Attorney General is warning people to be on the lookout for scammers posing as officials. Chris Koster's office says it's common for burglars to pretend to be disaster officials. So make sure to ask for identification from anyone who claims to be a government official. Watch out for brokers who promise so-called guaranteed loans from FEMA, especially if they ask for payment up front. FEMA does not charge an application fee. And beware of any contractor who tries to rush you. If an offer is only good now or never, find someone else to perform the work.
It's a race against the clock in parts of St. Clair County tonight. What neighbors are doing to try to save their homes.
And we know many of you are wondering, what can I do to help these flood victims? We'll tell you 3 ways you can help next. In New Athens, 12,000 empty sandbags were dropped off at homes today as their owners raced to protect their property.
News Channel 5's Jason Aubrey continues our team coverage in St. Clair County along the banks of the Kaskaskia River.
If your home was in danger, would 30 people show up to help you save it? Tonight, Terry Hill and his family don't have to ponder that question because that's exactly what happened for them.
At this moment, the battle between man and nature is at a standstill on a private piece of property outside New Athens. As they wait for more sand, homeowners can only sit and watch the water's unrelenting march toward their home. Yesterday, this above-ground pool was above the water, too. So far, they're winning the battle, thanks in large part to the kindness of strangers and the power of social media.
Before you know it, there's 30 people at our house that some of us know and some of us don't.
I was amazed.
A Facebook post was all it took to bring these people together. And as another load of sand is dropped off, it's back to work.
We've done so much work now, I don't want to fail.
That pride runs deep in this family.
I mean, I plan on living in this house again someday, so it'd be pretty devastating to me to see something bad happen to it.
And so this battle rages on here on Peacock Site Road.
The neighbors down the road, they're having the same issues. You can't even get to their house now because the road's flooded.
In the meantime, everyone is doing what they can.
Oh, that gets heavy real quick.
One scoop at a time, one bag at a time, just hoping it will be enough.
The Kaskaskia River is expected to continue to rise for at least another day and could reach another 2 feet in height before it finally crests. In St. Clair County, Jason Aubrey, News Channel 5.
The Kaskaskia River not expected to crest until Saturday, which means homes in nearby Fayetteville, Illinois are still in danger. Homeowners have put out sandbags hoping to protect their property. As of now, a voluntary evacuation is underway. The St. Clair County Emergency Management Agency says it will continue to be open on a limited basis.
We would like to give a big thank you to everyone out there who donated during our 5 on Your Side phone-a-thon last night. And there's still time to help the Red Cross help flood victims. There are 3 ways you can donate. You can call them at 314-516-2700. You can mail checks to the Red Cross at the address on your screen there. You can also donate online. We've got that link posted at ksdk.com.
All the video, all the pictures that we are seeing, we want to thank you for sending them in. You can see more of them on ksdk.com and our photo galleries, but this flooding is also affecting the animals. This picture came in from the Pacific area, poor little deer trying to swim through the flooded waters there. And you just saw the flooding going on in the New Athens area in Illinois, the Kaskaskia River that is very high. As a matter of fact, at record levels, current stage is 94.6 feet, record crest 90, so it's now well over that. Flood stage is 79 feet, so major flooding, and that's going to continue for another couple of days at least.